Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Euroman Movie Report, the show where I talk about a movie I have recently watched at my local movie theatre. This week I'm going to talk about the sequel to Marvel's Ant-Man, that movie titled Ant-Man and the Wasp. Ant-Man and the Wasp was released in 2015, and Ant-Man, I had only seen Ant-Man in animated versions before. For instance, in Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and then I discovered that the normal Ant-Man, Dr. Hank Pym, who we had seen in the previously mentioned show, wasn't supposed to be the main Ant-Man in the live-action movies, but instead another character, Scott Lang. But it worked well because Paul Rudd is funny, and it was really like the character. It fit well with his personality. And the first Ant-Man really was good. It had great CGI, great comedy, great acting by Michael Douglas and Paul Rudd, and what is her name? Just excuse me. Evangeline Lilly as Hope Van Dyne. And it really showed how de-aging had come a long way from the disastrous Wolverine X-Men Origins, where we saw how bad it could look, but in Ant-Man we saw how great it could look, because we, in the beginning of the film, have Michael Douglas in the 2015 first film, having been de-aged to look almost like how he did in Wall Street in the late 1980s, where the first part of the first movie supposedly was set. And Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, he saves the day, and now we have a sequel. And people have been speculating about this sequel. How does it tie in to Infinity War? And I'll address that later in this video. But in the beginning of the film, we are told that Scott Lang, still played by Paul Rudd, and the movie still directed by the same guy who did the first movie, and not forgetting Bring It On from 2000, where we saw Kirsten Dunst as a cheerleader. But we'll talk about that movie in another video another time. And we are told that Scott Lang's character is in house arrest because what he did in Germany, hint hint, Civil War. And he has developed a good relationship with his daughter from the first film, and an understanding with her mother and the mother's new husband, the guy who, if I remember correctly, was a cop. But Hank Pym and his daughter are doing science. And we later learn that Hank Pym is still played by Michael Douglas, and we are once again treated to how well Michelle Pfeiffer, who plays Jane Van Dyne, how well digital de-aging looks, or can look. So that was great. We see that in the beginning of the film. And that Hank Pym and his daughter want to bring Jane Van Dyne out from the quantum realm, which we were first introduced to in the first Ant-Man film. But meanwhile, there's this bad guy played by the guy who played Shane in the series The Shield. I don't seem to remember his name. He also played a bad guy in another film, or in several other films. Just need to find him here. One moment. My phone is acting up. Just one moment. Just have to scroll. No, that's just calling them the bad guy from Django Unchained and Shane from The Shield. And he's this black market dealer who wants to buy Dr. Pym's lab, but Dr. Pym's daughter don't want to sell it, and there's a fight, and so on and so on, and then suddenly, bang, then another character turns up called the Ghost, and or we later told she calls herself the Ghost. She can phase in and out of existence, and she wants the quantum lab not Quantum Lab, or Dr. Pym's lab, to be more precise, for herself to cure her condition. And yeah, Ant-Man and the Wasp, the CGI is good, the humor is good, and the acting is good. Michael Douglas, he really, yeah, he fits well in the characters, and so especially Paul Rudd, because yeah, he's really good with the humor side of the character, and he is really good in my opinion. And then of course Michael Pena, he once again returns as comic relief as Scott Lang's former cellmate, and Michael Pena, he of course, like in the first movie, delivers ha 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 moments, but he is still funny in my opinion. It's very entertaining, and I was entertained in many ways. It really keeps a good pace, and I enjoyed the film. Of course, we have Lawrence Fishburne. He also makes a cameo, or smaller part, as one of Dr. Hank Pym's former research partners. And Lawrence Fishburne, he always does a good job in the roles he appears in, so thumbs up from here. And in the beginning of this video, I talked about that there's a tie-in to Infinity War. And here's a spoiler, of course, and you're warned. 3, 2, 1. In the mid-credit scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp, Scott Lang is sent into the quantum realm to collect these spores to help cure the character Ghost, who turned from bad to good in the latter part of the film. And he's in radio contact with the now rescued Jane Van Dyne, Michelle Pfeiffer, Michael Douglas, and young Miss Van Dyne, Hope Van Dyne, Evangeline Lilly. But then suddenly he loses radio contact, and what do we see? The camera goes from the quantum realm to the top of the car park where they had parked all their equipment. We see only sod or fragments falling onto the pavement, and we now know, after having watched Infinity War, that this only appeared after the people who Thanos, he did the snap, and I can't I have very my fingers are not able to show. Yeah, here it was. Yeah, after Thanos did the snap, then the people who disappeared, they were turned only to ash. So that is the tie-in between Infinity War and Ant-Man and the Wasp. You can in some ways argue that Ant-Man and the Wasp are a parallel, meaning that it takes place at the same time as Infinity War, and now we can explain why Scott Lang isn't in Infinity War. But Michelle Pfeiffer, just to talk about her, she did a good job as well, and I look forward to seeing her in a future installment of Ant-Man. So all in all, is there anything else to say? No, not really. Good film, great humor, great acting. So all in all, if I'm gonna rate it, I will give it 4 out of 5 stars. That's it, Euroman of Euroman's Movie Report. Thanks for watching, and don't forget, if you like this movie talk / movie review, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to watch my previous reviews / movie talks, you can click a link in the description, which will take you to my previous videos. But I would like to wish my viewers a pleasant weekend, and I will return next week with another video. Until then, bye for now.